Hi, I'm Kris Knisely,
Hi, and I'm Eric B. Russell.
and we're here to talk to you a little bit about the volume we edited, Redoing Linguistic Worlds, Unmaking Gender Binaries, Remaking Gender Pluralities. Aric, why redoing linguistic worlds?
That is a question I think we wrestled with, and we've talked with so many other people, and we keep hearing this. For me, it's really a question of participation. What it is, what we do when we're languaging. Language is a verb, which we talk about in our first chapter, and we sort of thread throughout the volume. Um, we're doing language and we're doing our worlds, we're doing our identities, we're doing our understandings of ourselves, of others, of our communities. We're also doing our understandings of possibilities and impossibilities through languaging. And so we see people challenging the ways that have been done before, challenging that which is being done to them, and doing this in order to have greater participation in the linguacultural spaces and communities that they find themselves. So redoing a linguistic world, which is something that we're all engaged in, whether we acknowledge it or not, some people are just much more explicitly engaged in this, is a question of asking for, demanding, creating space for participation, for community. And I think to me, that's really kind of fundamental. I know, Kris, you have a different way of thinking about it, even though it's very complementary to mine. So maybe you want to jump in and say something about that.
Isn't that the story of our whole working relationship?
Yeah, it is.
Pushing and pulling each other.
Yeah.
Um, for me, it's really about expansiveness, right? So to loop in your participation, it's about expanding who is participating in this research, expanding whose ways of languaging are being represented in the conversations we're having, and frankly, about expanding the field. We started this volume because back, oh goodness, some decade ago now, we were having a conversation. We were looking around and we were going, the work that we know there's something here and it's not being considered. And it's starting to show up in Anglophone spaces, but we're not necessarily seeing it in the languages that we're working in. And so it's about expanding who, what, how we're thinking about doing language. We're researching the ways that people do language. We're working on the worlds that are created in and through this languaging and relanguaging. And so really that kind of leads into where we wanted to go with this book,
Yeah.
right? And what we kind of hope to accomplish with the book. Aric, what do you think we've done with editing this volume with all of our awesome contributors?
Well, I think the first thing we've done is we brought together a whole bunch of really interesting, cutting edge, thoughtful, involved contributors, people who are participants in the language cultures that they are describing, that they're analyzing, in which they're even activists from lots of different perspectives. So, as you said, like when we started this project a decade, maybe a little more, a little less ago, I had less gray hair, I know that. It was really overwhelmingly about Anglophone languacultural practices. And now we have a volume in which there is work being done on French, and not just in France, right? So there are two chapters that are looking at Montreal, on German, on Spanish, on Italian. And of course, this is still, unfortunately, we did throw the door wide open, but because of maybe the ways that scholarship works and different authorities and powers that supersede this project or even our institutions, like we ended up being focused on the global north, but I still think there's a tremendous amount of value in that, showing that these redoings, these opening up worlds, these creating more spaces for participation are happening, they're happening differently in different lingua cultural communities and spaces, but they are indeed happening and have been happening for a very long time. And I know we're both thinking about the next steps, Kris. So maybe you want to jump in and say, like, what do you see as the next steps for our continued project?
Yeah, I think we did a good job going beyond sort of what a cisnormative imagination can contain when we think about what it means to do language and to do gender and to do these things together. And really the next project is, how do we go beyond what our imaginations can contain? How do we go beyond this North American westernized focus that in part comes from who we are and
Yeah.
the connections we have? And so I think for us, it's about building bigger, more expansive communities. To bring it all the way back to how I think about the project at all, is to keep trying to realize the hope that we had in starting Redoing Linguistic Worlds.
Yeah.
How do we get scholars involved who might be just starting in their careers? How do we get more people who are part of more lingua cultures where this undoing and redoing is happening involved in this project and describing those things in ways that then others can read and understand in a way that we just can't when we're gazing onto a subject in really problematic ways. And so I think it's expanding further from where we've gone
Yeah.
in terms of language, in terms of sociocultural settings, in terms of who's represented as authors, in terms of how do we even go about creating the volume. And so that sort of leads us to what we're trying to do to build community and capacity building into the core of the next volume. Do you want to talk a little bit about
Yeah, well, I mean, we're super excited to say that we are starting to think about the next volume in which we want to have more expansiveness, which we want to have more participation. And so one of our first steps for doing that has been to put together a workshop. It will be at the Lavender Languages and Linguistics Conference in Brighton in the United Kingdom in August of this year. And what we want this to be is just an informal moment where we come together. There will be a presence live and also virtual. So even if you can't make the conference, you could join us this way. And we hope that you'll take part in it. Anyone who's interested in it, anyone who maybe knows someone who might be interested in it, and to expand our network and to bring in your participation and your perspectives and your own expansiveness to this. Because of course, we're just two people. We can't see everything, but we know that this type of linguistic redoing, the redoing of different worlds is taking place in all sorts of spaces and all sorts of moments and all sorts of different ways. And we really would like to imagine beyond, right? So I'm super excited about that, Kris. I know you are as well, and we look forward to hearing from people. Feel free to reach out to us, email us, contact us in any way you can.
Yeah, the book is an invitation into conversation and community. And so we hope that the idea of the next volume is also an invitation for you to join us in conversation and community.
Absolutely.
And with
As a,
that, we should probably thank
yes.
those at Multilingual Matters who really stuck with us.
Our editor and the entire editorial team, Anna and Flo, we owe you a debt of gratitude for your patience, for sticking with us on this journey that was a little bumpy, and also accepting, authors like these two editors that you're hearing now that have different ways of doing things that maybe don't enter into academic normativity always so well. We're so grateful for your I don't know, just your enthusiastic support along the way.
Yeah.
So, and also to our contributors who, but you can read this and we look forward to hearing from you all. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.